creators. What happens to a man when he loses the one thing that proved he mattered? Tonight you're going to meet James. He was the first young man that I met on the streets of Houston, and the thing about James is this. James is a man who built his identity around one thing. James is not weak. James is not lazy. James is not confused. But one identity ruled his life, one role, one achievement, and then he lost it. The money, the success, the applause, gone. And when it left, it didn't just take his income, it took his evidence. It took the proof that he mattered, that his past meant something, that he was good enough. But tonight, James isn't here to tell his story. James is here to be a mirror. Because somewhere quietly, many of us have tied our own worth to the proof we built in the past. All that collected evidence from our own history. Maybe it was a business, maybe it was a partner, a season of life that proved you were significant. So tonight, as you listen to James, don't just observe him, but see if you can find yourself in him. Because when the proof you've been leaning on dissolves, and the evidence you've been pointing to fades, if the thing that you were leaning on in order to validate yourself gets stripped away suddenly, then you'll finally understand the purpose of our question tonight. What is your past without your proof? Keep it locked. Because the answer just might change how you see yourself and your history forever. Without further ado, folks, if you're ready to live free beyond fear, welcome here. I'm Dr. Shawn, and I believe you do not need years to heal. You only need one real breakthrough. That's why I invented Transcendent Psychology, and I tested in the real world, on real people, on my game show, Countdown to Breakthrough, the only game show that heals your soul. Right now, you're on the Breakthrough Live, where we break down the science of healing so that you get your own breakthrough. Live. On today's show, we're starting with a young man named James. And this conversation, our lab question for the night, our experiment that we're going to be running after we get through listening to James, is going to be centered around this question: what is your past without your proof? That question is not something we want to look to external evidence for, but we want to look to that internal evidence for. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hear from James right on the streets of Houston. Here we go.
And we're with the folks. We're with the folks who already understand that there's power in the mind. And so this dude was listening to Bob Proctor this morning. So people are already elevating in amazing ways. What we want to do is just add extra tools so that people can be assisted. So that's essentially what we're doing. Any challenge that you have that is big or small, could be something as tiny as stubbing your toe or as large as financial woes. It don't matter what it is, you know what I'm saying? But anything that it is, what we're going to do is empower you with new tools. And so I think that's the entire spiel. So if you got it, as soon as you get done, I'm going to press the timer here. We have 7 minutes. If I don't serve this man in 7 minutes in some way, I'm going to pay him $5 just for taking his time. Okay, so that's what it is. Please. By the way, what's your name?
My name is James.
James.
Yeah.
Okay, James, Dr. Shawn. Man.
Okay, nice to meet you. But yeah, I would say like my biggest one is crazy. Like you said, I listen to Dr. Bob Proctor.
Yes.
That's his name. Yeah. So it's crazy because like say like 3-4 years ago, I manifested to where I am now, like financially.
Ooh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm only 21, and so when I was a little younger, I had some money. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you know, on like Instagram, you see like you gotta mess up a bag before you get the big bag.
Yes.
And it's like I was still doing the same thing, but I like brought that to fruition. You know what I'm saying? Like messed up, you know what I'm saying? Like that's pretty much that. And it's like now, like I seen the after vision, but now I'm in the middle. So it's like just trying to stay focused on that, like coming out the end, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, so I'm hearing you say essentially that you had the bag.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying? You're always gonna have the bag,
you
but
got
it's
the
like
bag, you know what I'm saying? But if you make a mistake at some point and the bag gets jeopardized or somehow gets fumbled or whatever the case is, right? You're saying you're at the place now where you're ready to basically reclaim, but also learn the lesson.
Yeah.
You want to obviously go further than you ever been before, but also learn that lesson the first time. You dig what I'm saying? That lesson, there was a lesson in losing the bag in the first place. You dig what I'm saying? So you want the lesson plus the bag. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So okay, I got you. All right, so here we go.
And to explain more, it's more like it's crazy because I manifested that like to like the sound like, bro, I'm probably gonna mess up the bag, and it's like I didn't want to, but it's like something in my body was telling me like, yeah, it's gonna happen.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I was probably 17, 18 at the time, and I'm like, there's no way. But at the time, I was still living with my folks, but I was still like maneuvering, do what I want to do.
Okay.
Then I moved to Arizona, and I was just, I don't know, it kind of started to slowly develop. Yeah, so I don't know if that gives you more insight to be able to.
So are you telling me that you had the bag, but all the while you didn't really think that you deserved it? Or was it that you had a subtle feeling that, damn, what if this goes away?
Nah, I don't think it's neither one of them. I feel like I always felt like I deserved it, and it's more like someone was telling me like, you know, this bag is gonna go away. You know what I'm saying?
Something told you that.
Inside of me, the Holy Spirit, the subconscious, something told me like, you know, through 19 to 23, you probably gonna fuck that bag up. You know, excuse my language. You probably gonna fuck the bag up to get to that next level.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't know how. I ain't trying to do that. And it seems like I was resisting it so much that I ended up doing it. Okay. But now it's like I put myself here, so I don't know if
I'm hearing you say that it was like the voice of God that was telling you that it was. This is not going to last.
Yeah, almost like you got to go through this process. Because my main goal is financial freedom. Okay. Like wealthy. I don't care about the money, it's about the freedom.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's more like what it was. So like I always envisioned myself being very, very wealthy. Yes. But it's like, okay, when I had that vision, something told me in the midst of the process.
You got you,
Yeah. In the midst of the process, something told me like, you know, once you hit 6, you know what I'm saying, it's going to come back down. And I didn't really know how. And then I wake up one day, I'm like, dang, I done thought myself into this situation.
Right.
Now I need to think myself out the situation.
Yeah, okay.
So that's what it is.
What's beautiful is that you just said that you have the power both to manifest it and to unmanifest it. You got the power to manifest it to go away. You know what I'm saying? So you have the power to make it come and the power to make it go. Yeah. Okay, so that's brilliant. What was like the worst moment for you? You know what I'm saying? Like, is there anything about that situation that you look back on and you're like, damn, if I just didn't do that part. If I just didn't do that little thing, I would have been smooth. You know what I'm saying? Is there anything that's kind of like, you might wake up with and just kind of be like, damn, I shouldn't have did that though. You know what I'm saying? Like that little thing, fuck the bag up.
I would say the little thing was probably like thinking that can't happen.
Okay.
Now, I thought that would never happen. When you're young, you know how it is, you're young, that's never gonna happen to me. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what it was. Okay. But I had conflicting thoughts because something inside of me was telling me it's gonna happen, but I'm telling myself it ain't finna happen. And so I would kind of slow down because I transitioned my careers. You know what I'm saying? I transitioned what I was doing to make money, and I wasn't making the same kind of money. Yeah. And I was 28 hours away from my first plate. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so today what I want to do, I'm about to start this countdown clock. All right, so we got 7 minutes on the clock. I'm just about to start this for the audience, so you know, I just hit that. Okay, so James, really the whole point of this is get into a place where we say, okay, how can I look at those negative memories, the memories of basically looking at when things were going great, but there was still that negative seed of doubt. That little seed of doubt in there that was basically saying like, this shit is it's about to go upside down. So let's go back to that moment. What we're about to do is a technique I call the zero gravity technique. You know what I'm saying? Right. So watch this. So go back to that memory in your mind right now. Just recall it. Just recall it. That one moment when you realized that doubt was creeping up. That it was one of those feelings that you just wanted to get away from, like you wanted to believe positively, but that doubt though. Go back to that doubt. What was that? What was that feeling like? Where were you, essentially? Just go in your mind. You don't have to answer me. Okay. Just go in your mind. Just have that emotion. Have that feeling. See the pictures. Where were you sitting? Who was counting on you? Who did you think that you were going to embolden or please? Right, so you're back in this memory, and there's that doubt that's right there. What we're going to do is handle that doubt. And so right now, picturing that memory, holding it in your mind, let me know when you got it.
Yeah, I had it when we first.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Now, I call this the zero gravity technique. What I want you to do is imagine that inside of that memory, there's a little dial, like a thermostat. And if you turn that thermostat all the way to the right, every single thing in that memory begins to levitate lightly in place. Everything comes off the ground. I want you right now to see and turn that dial to the right and see the furniture rising up off the floor. But you remain. All the little pictures and fixtures on the wall, see those rising up. Your computer that you're working at, see that rising up. Every single thing in that mental picture is rising up and levitating off the floor. If there are people speaking to you, even if it's only inside your mind, see their voices come out their mouths and rise up into the air. Everything is light as a balloon. Everything is light as a feather. Don't think about these people walking around us right now. Make them go light too. Every single thing goes light. And finally, make that doubt. Find that doubt that was inside of the body and make that go light too. Even the doubt rises up outside of the body and rises into the air. What does it feel like to see everything in your memory floating, weightless? Everything is light to the touch. You can even go and touch the floating refrigerator. You can touch the floating keyboard. You can touch the floating laptop. You can touch the floating doubt. It's just floating. As long as that dial stays to the right, it's just floating. Everything is zero gravity. What's it feel like to have everything inside of this memory be light and weightless to the touch?
Like, you don't feel like it's there.
Yeah, right. Just feel that. Just feel that. Like, what's it feel like? Even the doubt, I'm saying, rises up out of your body. You can see it coming out the top of your head, and it's gone. What's your body feel like now that the doubt is outside of it?
Kind of like a lightness, like a, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And so we say that lightness is who you actually are. You feel me? Mm-hmm. That lightness that you're feeling is you. That's you. They're saying that's always you. And so what we want to do is basically say, if you're feeling this lightness, how would you say you feel just in general? We out here, there's all kinds of distractions, but like, how would you say you feel in general? Can you talk a little bit about that lightness? Where do you feel it?
Feel like more like right here?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So we talk about that lightness opening up the heart space. Yeah. That's where you might say, God, if you believe in universal consciousness, whatever you want to say, all of it's going to be speaking through. Mm-hmm. Bob Proctor will tell you, you know what I'm saying? This is where you want to be manifesting from. So now you got it light. the burdens are gone. But the point is that were the burdens inside of your head, or were they real in the world? If you can make them light, if you got the power to make them light, and you got the power to make something that was once heavy light with your own mind, does that mean that, in your mind, does that mean that the power is with you, or does that mean the power is with the world?
No, the power is within.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And so what happens to that negative memory? Like, how does it, what about its power to affect you? Does it still have power to affect you?
Nah.
Not really.
Yeah, I mean, not in this exact moment. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like, yeah, because it's.
So the question is, can you come back to this anytime, come back to the zero gravity technique anytime you have that negative memory coming back?
Yeah, for sure.
So if that's the case, then I'll ask you one final question, which is, did this serve you?
No, I definitely did.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
It brought light to, like, kind of how like Bob Proctor was explaining it. What he had, like, the imagination. Or
yes.
It might have been one of his students. He said, close your eyes and imagine like your favorite car. Like being able to like the power of imagination.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that just gave me like another technique to like use the power of imagination.
Right, because it's the power of imagination to manifest a reality is one thing, but the power of imagination to bring yourself unto peace and to have that peace within you and to know that you control that. That's the place that I wanted you to. Yeah, I wanted you to see.
Yeah, kind of like I think what you're trying. Like feeling that light, removing everything, and like just feeling like in harmony and peace with everything.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly what it did.
Yes, and that's your power. You did that.
Yeah.
You dig what I'm saying? That's the amazing thing. Okay, so if I did it under 7 minutes, I'm 6 minutes and 43 seconds. All right, cool. Hey man, listen, James, man, dude, I bow to you, man. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Word.
Like, we're out here in Houston, and
Woo! Okay. All right. So we just heard from James on the streets of Houston. And the important thing that I want to point your attention to is what he was going through, right? He was in a situation where he felt like he was in something called the messy middle. Shout out to Tom Kieran for that term, the messy middle. I don't know if it comes from Tom, but that's who I first heard it from. Which is to say that you have a starting point, you have a place where you wish to go. But from the time that you actually imagine or envision the life that you could have, and the distance between that desire and that end state of actually receiving, in between those 2 points is called the messy middle. The messy middle is the place where things ain't looking. It's not looking like it's going to work out. And more to the point, everything that has happened so far seems to confirm that the end state, the end goal, will never happen. It becomes the land of frustration, the land of doubt, and it's fertile soil for using the past to defeat yourself right now. And so when it comes to James, the important thing was to go into his actual memories, the memories that were still plaguing him about what had happened, and begin to augment and change those. And you can start to see in James the very first glimmers of light coming through as he's thinking like, oh yeah, it does. If I, tonight's question is, what is your past without your proof? What is your past without your proof? We could also say, what is the past without all of the evidence and the evidence is just the memories of what happened. What is your past without your proof? In order to find out, we need to be able to conduct a study in the here and now. We need an exercise that's going to allow us to explore the nature of memory. In other words, we're going to go into the breakthrough lab. The breakthrough lab is what I'm calling this moment where we go into our conscious transformation technologies, we go into our meditation, we go into our chamber where we are looking within with one single question. Because I want to know what happens when the proof gets removed from our concept of time. I want to know what it feels like when the proof gets removed from our concept of time. So for tonight's lab experiment, before we can start identifying the principles, the patterns, and the path forward, before we can even get to the lesson of the evening, we must first go into the inner chambers within ourselves with a prompt. With a prompt. The reason we care about the answer to this question, what is your past without your proof, is because our anxieties, worries, our depression comes from how we formulate our past experience. That past experience shapes how we think our future outcomes are likely to arrive. And so when we're asking the question, what is your past without your proof? If we can get to a felt answer, it's not okay to just ask the question and then start looking for research externally in books. Books are great starting points, but what we want to do is actually go to the place within, and we want to discover the answer experientially. We want to discover our answer experientially. Then will make sense after we felt the truth. Because people might be going through depression. People might be suffering the worst financial downturn of their life. People might be in that messy middle where their entire world is filled with doubt. And those people might be you. And if that's the case, then by asking this question and getting to the bottom of this, might we find an experiential path to freedom? One that cannot be manipulated by external circumstances, by events, or by situations. I've got to say, folks, a lot of times what I'm doing is I'm asking the same question over and over and over and over again. But each time, the point is to actually get deeper and our own self-awareness. I don't believe that we need to have a whole bunch of information, a whole bunch of questions, a whole bunch of ideas. Let's take the most basic ones, the most essential questions, and return and revisit them, but only this time, each time, we are new because we went a little deeper than last time. What is your past without your proof? Let's get to the lab, to the laboratory, the meditation laboratory, where I'm going to sit and allow spirit to guide us through an exercise that will allow us to interrogate this concept of proof, of past evidence. When I say proof, what is your past without your proof? The proof is the stories that you have been telling yourself about who you are, what you have achieved, what you are capable of, but also the memories of what you have achieved, the memories of the times when you betrayed yourself, as well as the memories of those moments when you were at your height, at the peak of your powers, but like James, feel like you fell off a cliff. We want to go back into those memories. We want to go back into those stories. Strip them. Having done so, we want to ask what the past means to us then, in that moment, when there's no proof left. And so, into the chambers we go. Now is a good time to find a chair, find a floor, find a little bit of space, and wherever you are, it is helpful to keep your back straight, which means that if you are sitting in a chair, you should imagine a string attached to the crown of your head that is gently pulling your back straight. If you are lying down, make sure you are lying down flat on your back. If you are standing, make sure you are standing feet shoulder width apart, with your hips slightly tucked in. See if you can get that back straight. It will help. Take one deep breath in with me. Inhale. Exhale. Another deep breath in with me. Inhale. Exhale. Close your eyes. When you pick up 100 pounds, like a 100-pound barbell, you know that that barbell is 100 pounds heavy. You can feel the pulling and lengthening of sinews in your arms. You feel the tightness of your muscles as they contract, pulling power from your legs as you raise the weight. But ask yourself right now, how heavy is the feeling of lifting 100 pounds? You'll notice that the feeling of lifting 100 pounds weighs the same as the feeling of lifting a feather. Measured in feeling, all things are weightless. That's because feelings do not have any weight. Since all feelings are weight-free, what if you could learn to see even the most emotional events as minor appearances rather than dramatic stories with heavy consequences? Let's test it. Right now, I want you to pull up in your mind's eye the last situation you were in where things just didn't go your way. Perhaps it was the tipping point in your business. When you could no longer keep the doors open. Perhaps it was the tipping point in your marriage. When you could no longer keep the door open. Perhaps it was the tipping point in your own body. When you saw your health decline. And you didn't know what to do. Go to the replay of that scenario in your head. It doesn't even matter if the situation is happening in real time or not. It doesn't even matter if the situation was even real. You could also use a situation that you've been worried about happening but never has. I want you to replay the scenario back in your mind, repeating the exact same images, sounds, sensations, reactions. Remember everything. You must be brave. Notice how negatively replaying the scenario makes you feel. See it all in your mind's eye. Where were you? Who was there? What were they saying to you? What were you doing? Perhaps your fear was of yourself running, escaping danger, or at least trying to, until you couldn't. We need to recall those feelings. We need to recall that proof. Those memories are the proof of your past. Those memories are the proof of the past. But now we need to go deeper. At this time, we go deeper. Right now, I want you to imagine that there is a special dial, like a thermostat, inside of your mind. If you turn the dial to the right, everything in your memory becomes weightless. That means that everything in your memory, once you turn this dial that exists only in your mind to the right, everything in your memory will begin to float off the ground as if all gravity disappeared. Return to that negative memory, that story, but this time, turn the dial in your mind to the right, right now. Imagine that everything in your memory begins to float off the ground, weightless, as if all gravity disappeared. If your memory was about angry people yelling at one another, watch them continue to scream as they lift into the air. Watch as they drift about like soft balloons. In your mind, go and touch the feet of these people gently as they levitate off the ground. They are light and airy to the touch. Make the furniture, then the entire environment begin to levitate softly in place. Even the noises people make exit their mouths and travel up into the sky weightless. But even the negative emotions that you felt in this memory, imagine those go weightless too. Feel your negative emotion move out your body and float up and away in space like a cloud. How do you feel now as you see everything and everyone light and weightless to the touch? Rest here. You alone remain centered, grounded. Do you feel lighter within yourself? What if the lightness that you feel is the real you? Rest here. Hmm. Take one deep breath in with me. Inhale, exhale. Again, inhale, exhale. When you are ready, you may open your eyes. Mm. Mm. Okay, my experience was interesting. When we go back and we're looking at that lab experiment just one more time, and we're back inside of our own memories. For me, the memory was actually of a dream. It was of a dream I just had, I think last night. You know how dreams be. But in this particular dream, it was kind of like a nightmare. And if you ever saw the comic book character Spawn, this character Spawn was, I mean, it was a big movie in the '90s and had a big cult following. Anyway, the Spawn character was in my dream, and it was as if the entire dream, the sky is completely red, and I'm running with my wife and daughter in this dream, and the feeling that I was getting was that this Spawn character, who was kind of like he was kind of like this Thor, this almost like godlike figure, but like Greek godlike figure that was opening the sky up and was reaching down and was about to grab me and my family, right? So we're running and in the dream, I'm working this out. I'm like, oh, my mind in the dream is racing, and I'm like, oh, of course, Spawn was a propaganda tool of the government, and that's why he's trying to compromise me. You know what I'm saying? It was like I go into the conspiracy deals, and the conspiracy deals are abound right now. If you just go online, so I probably went to sleep to something, and then it was playing in my mind, and then whatever the case is, but the dream. It's one of those dreams that felt real, even though however ridiculous it is, it felt real. You feel me? And so we're running away from the Spawn character, but it's futile. You can't run away from this character that is just kind of everywhere. And so for me, it was like this direct sense of powerlessness, this direct sense of, oh, your enemy's got you again, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It was kind of like feeling trapped, especially if you have your lady and your baby. Like you definitely want to be feeling the most empowered around them. You ain't trying to be feeling, any kind of way. So in the dream, it was kind of a bothering thing, right? And when I woke up, I'm sitting here trying to figure out what it meant, and I'm trying to figure out what it means for me to be thinking about it still. You feel me? And I'm kind of like, I keep going with the conspiracy theories. I keep going with with the ideas that, oh man, maybe this is a bad omen, right? I get into you know what I'm saying? We get into the superstition deal. I get into the stuff that I know is irrational, that I know is foolish, but I don't like it. It doesn't matter intellectually how much I can look at something. If the feeling is there, then eventually that feeling does come to manifest itself. That's the way it goes. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't, you might be superstitious or whatever the case is. The superstition ain't real. Your feeling about your fear of that fear will manifest itself in some way. And so I was like, oh, shoot, I got to shake this little feeling. You know what I'm saying? Knowing exactly how ways lead unto ways, I'm like, okay, well, I got to shake this feeling. Because if this feeling creates even a little bit of hesitation in my daily life when no hesitation is necessary, right, that can lead me down to making choices that aren't necessarily in alignment with the choices I would make, where I live in completely by love instead of fear. You feel me? So I was like, okay, let's go ahead and nip this in the bud. But then I got busy with the day. You know what I'm saying? I get busy with, the things, you just got busy with, whatever else I was going to be doing that day. And so I kind of forgot about it until we returned to the lab tonight. And that dream, however fake the dream is, the feeling of powerlessness, I felt that before. I felt that before. Which means what? If I can do something about it now, I can do something about it later. That's why coming back to this idea of what is your past without your proof? The proof that the proof is the memory and the stories. So if we were to strip all of those away, what then does that bad dream mean to me? What then, in fact, does my entire past mean to me? Good or bad? What then? What then would it mean? Somebody let me know you understand what I'm saying. I can break this down a little further if necessary. But the point is that wherever fear pops up, I want to make sure that I'm paying attention. I want to get very, very curious right at that point because there's a lesson in there. There's a lesson in there. Perhaps it is the point that people are saying that we are in World War III right now. I don't know if you heard the news, and perhaps some of that rhetoric is seeping into my subconscious. Either way, I don't actually care how it gets there. I care that once it's there, I'm paying attention. But I'm telling you this, as I go through that exercise, as we went into the meditation lab today, and as we start training with the kit, the conscious transformation technology, the zero gravity technique, the very same one that we used with James, just a moment ago. And as I go back and revisit that very kit, that very tool, the memory that I called up was the dream from last night. And as I'm using the zero gravity technique, I put myself back into the dream with the red sky and Spawn as being this sort of God figure that's kind of looking down and looking to grab people and all this. And me and my family being the only ones around. And I'm running and I've got the baby in one hand, I got my wife in another hand, I'm sitting here running and the the ground is like moving up and down. It's all shaky. So, you know what I'm saying? Every time you move, there's like a new crevice, a new gap, a new gulf that you could fall down and into the abyss or lose somebody. So I'm holding on to everybody tight and I'm running and running. And the whole thing feels real, right? It feels like it's a real situation. It's just a dream, but it feels, dreams when they feel real. As I return to that very moment, to those feelings of helplessness, which likely tie into certainly those are feelings I felt before. So wherever they come from, I care about putting awareness on them. I care about putting that attention on them. So I don't want to miss the lesson that they're looking to show me. So as I was just doing the zero gravity technique for me personally, and I would love to hear what is appearing for you, throw that in the chat. But as I'm working with the zero gravity technique, I go back to the memory and I start seeing, okay, make everything go weightless. So what's that mean? Okay, well, the wife and the child that I was formerly holding on to, they go weightless. They no longer need to run on this shifting terrain because they're levitating off the ground. There's no issue there. Okay, that got me feeling a little better. But then it was like, okay, what about all of the shifting land? Like how about, you know what I'm saying? What you do about that? Oh, that goes weightless too. So the terrain is lifting up into the sky. The baby, my lady, lifting up into the sky. Shout out Felicity. I see you in the chat. Twins, I see you in the chat. Welcome in. Everyone's going up into the sky. Trees, everything up going up into the sky, into this red sky. But that still didn't quite get it for me. What got it for me was when I saw the Godhead spawn, even the big Godhead that was trying to, manipulate and capture capture me. That even that Godhead dude, he starts oh no, he starts floating up in the air. He starts floating up. He's already in the sky, so he starts floating up out the sky, like you know what I'm saying, floating up beyond the sky. Until eventually the entire dream, like a cartoon, in my mind, all the colors start floating up into the air. And then I'm standing in this white abyss. And now there's no longer any symbol to make me afraid. Right? There's no longer any representative, no longer any bad guy to make me afraid, to make me feel helpless, to make me feel powerless. Like almost like a Bugs Bunny cartoon, like sometimes though Bugs Bunny used to walk by a scene and flip the scene up straight up, like, grab the bottom of the page on the TV and he would flip it up and all of a sudden he would be in a white abyss. It was a little bit like that. Yeah, I was thinking, I hope y'all remember Bugs Bunny. Okay. I don't know if he's still on TV, but it was a character, this Bugs Bunny character I'm talking about was a character that could break fourth walls. It was a character that could, manipulate environments and realities. And so as I zero gravity lift this entire scene out, and it's just this white abyss. I've never taken the technique that far personally for myself. Usually all that's not necessary. Usually it's just okay if you can get the people to lift and you can get their voices to come out their mouths and go up into the sky. Usually that's as far as I need to take it. But now not only does the entire scene lift out and I'm standing in a white abyss, but also I feel the fear lift out of the body. And that too goes with along with everything else. It goes with the color, it goes with like the fear itself, the trepidation, the helplessness, all of that, the emotion itself represented as energy, represented as like a glowing ball of, rotating light comes out the body and it follows right up into the sky, right along with that entire reality. And so in that moment, it's not as if I find some courage. It's just that there's just no longer a problem to respond to. When I delete the proof of this past event, I mean, a white abyss is that doesn't exactly scream, oh, this was a dream. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's gone. It's gone. It's gone. And so, because I'm no longer representing reality to myself as I formerly did, moments ago, it's like, in regard to this dream, it's like I can't feel the same way about it as I did moments ago. You dig what I'm saying? So naturally, that lightness, more like it just returns, more like it felt like the fear, these ideas were just kind of like a thin layer that was just kind of resting on top of this never-ending peace, just kind of resting on top. But even once I used that zero gravity technique, all of a sudden, and take it further than I have ever before, which is to say, even the colors, everything, it just becomes just straight up a white abyss. In my memory, there's nothing for me to respond to. I just see myself standing in that white abyss. I've changed how I've represented that memory to myself. I've changed its proof of it's no longer that dream no longer serves, those images no longer serve as proof of that negative dream. And so when the proof disappears, whatever that dream meant to me also disappears. But I started getting to one more insight, which is just that you know how, when you go to sleep, you feel like you almost like awaken to a new world that feels so. It's funny how dreams can feel real, because that would mean that in that dream, your dream self feels like they've lived an entire life. Feels like they have a history too, even though you're just dreaming it, even though you just sleep on the couch. But once you're in that dream self feels like it doesn't dawn on the dream self that, hey, this whole thing is fake. Like inside of that dream self feels like they belong, like they have a history, that the events that are happening are natural. That's why a dream can feel real, however ridiculous it is. You talking about spawn in the sky? Come on, that's ridiculous. How come the thought of, hey, this dream is ridiculous, or I'm even dreaming in the first place, how come that didn't hit me? How come that didn't occur to me? It's because in the thick of the panic, in the thick of, running away from this comic deity in the dream, it all feels real. It all feels like, oh yeah, of course, this is how events ought to transpire. It all feels normal. And yet it is a mere manifestation of my own thoughts and my own feelings. And were I to take responsibility, we could call that like a dream responsibility over the dream, been able to transform the dream, to actually either wake myself up or to begin to dictate what actually happens next. This is a phenomenon they call lucid dreaming. I've done it before, it's very fun, but it requires waking up inside of the dream. It requires waking up inside of the dream in order to do it. So we call that dream responsibility, taking responsibility over the dream, which of course makes you ask and makes me ask right now after having gone into the lab, what if the same thing were true of the waking state, of the waking life? If we could wake up even as we believe we're awake and take like a living responsibility over living itself. We might even call that taking spiritual responsibility over reality itself. And of course, that's where these ideas come from. Taking that spiritual responsibility over reality itself is the reason we're even asking the question tonight. What is your past without your proof? And as a result of that, I believe we're ready for the breakthrough board. I believe we're ready for the breakthrough board. We're ready to begin to make sense of our lab experiment tonight, of our felt experience as we return to the proof of the past, aka our own memories and stories about the past. For me, it was about taking responsibility over a dream. But in doing so, I step more into a greater responsibility over the waking state, which we just call spiritual responsibility. Because if I'm feeling that feeling of powerlessness from a dream, or if I happen to be awake and I feel the same thing, like to be able to return to this core understanding that this meaning and this feeling exists, I'm giving it the weight that's allowing it to crush my spirits or dampen my perspective. And if I can give it weight, if I can give a memory weight, if I can allow proof or evidence of something good or bad to have weight, to carry meaning, then I can also strip it of that weight. I can make it go light. And perhaps that leads us to our principle for the evening. As y'all know, I like to teach from principles. Principles allow me to, once I understand a principle, I can understand how to chart my own path forward. Once I get and understand a principle, I can chart my own path forward. So I like to teach from principles. And for tonight, I do not prepare the principles ahead of time. So I need to allow for the principle to make itself known to me. Because our question is, what is your past without your proof? And from my own experience, from my own primary experience, hmm, okay. Mm. All right, I'm gonna try this out. Okay. Okay. Quinn saying, I love the energy, good sir. Yeah, we're gonna get to it, twin. We about to figure this out. So here's what's coming up for me. See if this makes sense. If not, we're gonna have to augment some things. But this is what keeps kind of popping up for me. Is that the pain, be it the helplessness, the powerlessness, be it the fear, the feeling of not being good enough, whatever it is, that pain that exists inside of the proof. But the proof exists inside of the symbols, and I could even put an S there. The proof exists inside of the symbols. The symbols, of course, are how we represent reality. The reason that the zero gravity technique works is because we are lifting up all of the symbols that happen to occupy a memory. So when we talk about moving the people, it's not just moving the people, it's what that person represents to you. So if someone disrespected you, by seeing them go weightless and now they're floating up into the sky and they're still yelling, but even their words are just kind of coming out of their mouth and their voice is lifting up into the sky, like out in the way, way, way. We are changing not that person, but what that person means to you. We are changing them as a symbol in your mind. These symbols collectively represent the proof of your past, the proof, not just of your past, but also the proof of your pain. Mm. Which means that when we transform the symbols, and we're going to have to do a network wide, that's why we don't say just make one person lift up. We say make everything lift up. The fixtures on the walls, everything that could possibly mean something to you, everything that could otherwise mean heaviness, all of that gets lifted up. All of it becomes light and weightless. Every single thing that is how you represent reality across every single artifact in your mind, every single artifact in your memory, all of that gets transformed because every single artifact in your memory, from the people to the place to how you felt, none of that is true reality. It is only a representation of reality, i.e., a symbol. But that symbol also happens to be your proof of your past. And if you continue to invest in that proof, you will get unshakable pain. Continue to invest in that proof, and you will get unshakable pain. So, the principle of the evening is that the pain is in the proof, and that the proof are your symbols. The proof is your symbols. The proof comes from how you represent reality to yourself. And a memory is just a memory, it's unconscious. You naturally represent reality in a certain way to yourself. It's either a bad thing or a good thing, maybe something in between, but the reality is either a bad thing, a good thing, whatever the case is, but you're naturally representing that thing to yourself. And so when we go back in and we start using kits, we are making a process that was unconscious, and we are going to consciously transform it with a technology. You see what I'm saying? That's why we call them conscious transformation technologies, kits for short. You got it. So the point is that the pain is in the proof is in the symbols. Okay, that's our principle for the evening. That's our principle for the evening. Dang, dang, dang. So for me, straight up, the idea here is this. Remember Spawn I was telling you about that was looking down and trying to yoke us up? Okay, well, the dream represented a pain and represented a feeling of helplessness for me or a feeling of fear. Okay, cool. The proof was in the symbols. The symbols were the dream wife, the dream baby, my dream self, the dream landscape, the red color of the sky, the god deity Spawn. If you're just now joining the Breakthrough Live, you got to back it up about 10 minutes, okay? Because the whole explanation about what I'm talking about here. But the Spawn that's ripping up the sky, trying to reach down and grab us, all of that is symbols, a representation of reality. And so when I change the symbols, I change the proof and dissipate the pain. That's the principle. I need you to see that. Somebody put in the chat, I understand, if you understand. If not, we'll back it up. So the pain is in the proof, and the proof is in the symbols. Okay, got it. That's our principle for the evening. Got it. Now we need to understand what is the pattern. We need to know what is the pattern. When I say pattern, I like being able to recognize the pattern behind phenomena. If I can recognize the pattern behind an event, then I can interrupt that pattern. I can change that pattern and so create a new result. And so, what's the pattern? We know the principle is that the pain is in the proof is in the symbols. But what's the pattern? In other words, how do we even get into this problem in the first place? How do we even get into this trouble in the first place? What's the pattern that were we to avoid? Or better, were we to understand? We could change everything. I'm just looking for that pattern. Okay. Okay, let's see. Okay. Okay. Here's what's running through. Like, let's saying I understand. Twin saying I can fully say I do and I know that rare. Twin saying me too. Excellent, excellent. So here's what I'm saying. is that the pattern is the unconscious assignment of meaning the unconscious assignment of meaning to events and situations. So we've got this unconscious assignment of meaning to events and situations, which is to say that you have the unconscious creation this I mean like unconscious. All right. You have the unconscious creation of symbols. An unconscious assignment of meaning to events and situations gets codified in your mind as a symbol, even if it's just the way that somebody looked at you. It no longer is reality. Ain't nobody looking at you right now. You feel me? It's like, so, which means that even if the way that that person kind of looked at you sideways or sneered, by the time it is inside of your memory, it is now a representation of reality because it is no longer something that's actually happening to you. It's only happening to you inside of your memory. And so at that point, you are just as much a part of the happening as the it is. You dig? Of course, that's always the case. But the point that I'm making tonight is that unconscious assignment of meaning to events and situations, that's the pattern. That's the pattern that gets us into trouble. Is that when a thing happens, we get to judging things as good or bad. We get to judging things as good or bad. Maybe I should. I'm gonna let y'all see this one more time. So the unconscious assignment of meaning to events and situations means that you are unconsciously creating symbols. People can be symbols. A symbol is not just a logo. A smile can be a symbol, something that actually when you think of it, it makes you feel happy, or it makes you feel ridiculed, or it makes you feel embarrassed. You dig what I'm saying? These are symbols that now represent reality. Okay. And so you say, all right, well, that's the pattern. Is there a way to simplify that for a film? Can you simplify that for the one time? I understand the idea of a unconscious assignment of meaning to events. Could you simplify that even further, Doc? Yeah, I can. Here we go. Here we go. So here it is. It is the unconscious judgment of events and situations as good or bad. There's a binary opposition here. So we say assigning meaning to events, unconsciously assigning meaning to events. What am I really saying? I'm saying that we keep judging things as good or bad unconsciously. It's not that we're trying to. It's that when something happens, we say this shouldn't be. Or when something happens, we say about time. You dig what I'm saying? But it's unconscious. So we don't even know why walking away from a situation we feel so terrible. We haven't even seen our part in the play. We're just unconsciously playing the role out. You dig? That unconscious judgment of events and situations as good or bad. Once we create a symbol, we then layer that symbol naturally with meaning. The symbol can only be created with meaning. Once an image in your mind gets judged as good or bad, then two things exist inside the mind: the image plus the judgment, and they go together. And when they live inside of the mind, they quietly cause contamination, building up all kinds of emotional toxins like fear, like anxiety, like worry. You understand? And so we're seeing the principle being that the pain is in the proof is in the symbols, and we're seeing the pattern that we have this unconscious assignment of meaning, of things as good or bad to events and situations. And the moment that happens, we create a symbol out of natural event. And then we allow that symbol to contaminate our energy, producing fear, producing anxiety, producing worry, producing helplessness. So our job now is to find the path forward. We cover the principle, we're seeing the pattern. Now, what's the path forward? What's that path forward? Hmm. Okay. Okay. So our path forward, based on tonight's examination, tonight's experiential meditation, our conscious transformation technology for the night, the zero gravity technique shows us that if we can lift the symbol, we will lift the proof, which also means we'll lift the pain. If we can lift the symbol, that means we'll lift the proof, which also means we will lift the pain that is and was otherwise attached to that symbol. That's why the zero gravity technique is so powerful. And I don't know if I've ever broke it down in that way before for myself, but what we're doing is changing the unconscious symbols that exist within a memory. And we're doing it near instantly. It only takes a few moments. And as I'm learning tonight, there are levels to this. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like any skill, you can get even better and better at it. Tonight was the first night that I ever made the colors of them in the memory. The colors all got stripped out because that red sky in that nightmare that I was having, it meant something. It meant danger. It meant fear. It meant something is wrong. But when the color gets drained out, when even that goes light, it flies up into the sky. It's gone. Everything, matter of fact, everything gone. It's like I no longer, I've lifted the symbol, which means I've lifted the proof in the pain. So now we return to that question, what is your past without your proof? Who's got an answer for me? Put it in the chat. What is your past without your proof? What is your past without your proof? Twin saying it's nothing, and I want to say everything all at the same time. When you say everything all at the same time, now that's interesting. Oh, now that's interesting. I'm hearing you saying everything all at the same time, twin. I'm hearing you. I feel that. To me, it's almost like when I hear you say that, it's making something like click for me. What's resonating for me throughout that, based on my experience with using the technique tonight, is it's like, right, the past naturally, without the proof, it naturally kind of collapses in on itself. But when it does, but when it collapses in on itself, it's like only the raw ingredients are there. Only the raw ingredients of consciousness itself is there, pure consciousness, which is to say, only the raw ingredients of myself is there. So when the past collapses, what I'm left with is myself. And not myself in a personal sense, but myself as in the self, the supreme Atman. You dig what I'm saying? The Hindus called all of reality the self because they understood that there was no distinction between mind, self, and society, that everything was continuous, that it all went together. And without our stories, without my story about who I am and what I did and this, that, and the third, that bare naked reality, that bare naked truth, it shines imminently. That bare naked truth, it shines imminently. It's like I just have just the raw material again. Just the raw material. It's not like a there's not like a past to go back and be ashamed of or be too proud of. There's just the self. There's just this pure experiencing, this pure consciousness. Beautiful. That's at least what I'm getting from what you're talking about. That's what resonated and clicked in with me. Twin, shout out to you. Shout out to you. Felicity says the past becomes meaningless. Twin saying, is it who I am? Does it truly define me, or does the scars make it proof? Past with a passion. Yeah, right. So then I'm twin saying, yeah, past without my proof is just he's saying it's just the factual evidence, as in you can look at what just happened should you need to reference an event or a situation, It no longer has all of these extra burdens on it. It's just what happens. I don't want anyone thinking that we somehow lose our intellectual capacity to deal with problems. On the contrary, we actually deal with reality better because we've taken our emotions up out of it. We've taken the pain up out of it. We're not trying to get somebody back. We're not trying to send a message anymore in the next meeting because that person, oh, he needs to be shown, he needs to be taught a lesson. We're not, we can deal with the past, we can deal with what has happened based off of evidence rather than emotion. I love that twin. Excellent. The other twin, raw pureness. What's he saying? The past can't survive without the stories we tell. Right, 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 right. The past can't survive without the stories we tell. Right. It's like, but when we can recognize those stories as codified in the symbols, right now we can feel the story. Sometimes we don't always know what the story is about. You feel me? That's why we have something like a zero gravity technique. That means you don't need to know what kinds of meanings you was given to something. It don't matter. All you know is that you just feel that lightness. Which is why with James, we could run up on him on the street and and get that starting point started for him, getting that feeling started in the chest, that lightness, as he said. Because it don't matter whatever else you was thinking. It's all going to be codified inside of that memory. So we're just dealing with it right then and there. We're dealing with it right inside the place where the symbols are stored. And we know there are symbols there because if there weren't, you wouldn't be bothered. But knowing exactly how the symbol got there and what happened when you were 5 years old and this, that, and the third, we don't need to do all that. We go straight to the symbol because once we move through the exercise, we recognize what else? We don't even have to wait for something to be an issue. We don't have to wait for something to become a core trauma. The moment we start feeling any kind of way, we turn our attention onto the feeling, onto the emotion, and onto the memory. Or in some cases, it can even be the imagined future. But we're turning our attention back onto our model of the past. And we are dealing with it right now. We deal with it in the here and now. Excellent. Twin saying, yes, yes, yes. Mrs. Felicity, excellent. Yes, yes, yes. This past cannot survive without the stories we tell. Yes, right, right. It's just that sometimes when we go hunting for a story, which is what, you know, there's a lot of modalities, healing modalities that will have you kind of retrace what the stories were and that sort of thing. That's interesting. I think sometimes we can, spend a lot of time trying to piece together a story when really I just wanna deal with the symbol directly because the story is gonna be codified in the symbol. You could even say that the point of stories is to help you create new symbols that allow you to navigate life in a different way. That is like the point of a story at its highest level is to help you understand things in a different way so that you move differently. I've told you that in every society, if you want to, in order for people to be either trained or controlled, and there's three institutions: schools, religions, and the media, right? These are the three institutions that are really big into storytelling for a reason. If you can help somebody create a story, what you're really doing is helping them create a symbol. that symbol will have motivating action. Without them knowing, that symbol, be it the way that somebody blinks at you, be it the way that somebody smiles at you, be it whatever that symbol is, the meaning that has been assigned to that symbol will direct and dictate behavior, because it'll always conjure up the feelings that are necessary in order for you to move in a direction that perhaps you did not choose for yourself. And so what we want to do is take responsibility over that, over all of the symbols that are inside of our mind. And the way that we do that is by paying attention to feeling. We understand that feeling is senior to thought. I need to say that again. Feeling is senior to thought. One more. Feeling is senior to thought. Inside the feeling, I'll find the evidence of the symbols. And if I can deal with those symbols directly, I change the symbol, I change the proof, which means I change the pain. That's why it don't take years. It just takes one real breakthrough. Excellent, folks. Twin saying I had to heal myself when no one was going to save me. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what it is. Because y'all hear that? I think it's your boy. Okay, hold on. Well, shoot. All right. All right. But we got Breakthrough Turtle up in this piece. What up, B? So Breakthrough Turtle comes through every single week, and he gives us something that he's prepared that I'm not super sure of what he's going to give, but usually it pertains to the conversation. Okay, so we're super excited to see what you have to say tonight. I mean, you're enjoying the show so far, right? Of course, of course, of course. I don't know. She kind of been Sublime. He talking about Sublime again. Yeah, she kind of been MIA for a little bit, but it's all good. We keep moving. Let's go ahead and break you open. Breakthrough Turtle will break open in order to give us a breakthrough gift. Okay, all right. Set you down, man. Okay. Uh-oh, they said vroom vroom. Oh, it's turtle time. It's turtle time. Yeah, you got the ninjas in the chat, the Ninja Turtles. Hey, yo, B, what you got for me? I see you, twin. Okay. Okay. Okay, break the turtle. What you got for me today? All right, all right. So here's what this says. Break the turtle. I don't know about this one. Okay, so here's what it says. It says, "Don't ever think I fell for you or fell over you. I didn't fall in love, I rose in it." Toni Morrison. Break the turtle. I'm confused, champ. I don't know what you mean by this one. So what you saying? You saying, don't ever think I fell for you or fell over you. I didn't fall in love. I rose in it. Hmm. Hmm. Don't ever think I fell for you or fell over you. I didn't fall in love. I rose in it. Break the turtle. Are you trying to give us a signal for tonight? Some type of like a new symbol? Because when Toni Morrison, the quote that you gave me, don't ever think I fell for you or fell over you. Well, that implies a past consideration, someone who was into that kind of subjective love, someone who thought that love was personal, that love had all these attachments to it. And for the purpose of tonight, we can just define love as truth. I didn't fall in love. I rose in it. I didn't fall in truth, I rose in it. Breakthrough Turtle, are you telling me that it is not our past or other people's consideration of it that makes the difference in our own ascension, but only our ability to recognize that the truth is who we are when we're willing to rise in it, when we're willing to stand in it. I don't need to, I'm not falling into the truth. I'm discovering it, standing in it, and rising in it. I didn't fall in love, I rose in it. I didn't fall in truth, I rose in it. Don't ever think I fell for you, which means no one from my past is a distraction. Don't ever think I fell over you, which means no one from my past is an obstacle. I didn't fall in truth. I rose in it when I became it, and I became it when I took responsibility for the past. That's the best I can do. I don't know what you're talking about. Other than that, breakthrough turtle, but we're gonna have to keep it, keep it a stack with you. You had too many anchovy. I think he had too many anchovy pizzas this past week. He's from New York. They do crazy stuff like that. Well, look, Twin is saying, "Oh man, we just got back from a beautiful dinner, and I swear that literally was my thought tonight." Dang, B, I'm not crying. You are hilarious, hilarious. Yeah, it's like that feeling though, Twin. I'm feeling that too, like where you have that sense of I've got this kind of sense of it's always refreshing to know that when I remember that the dream is being dreamt by the dreamer, and the dreamer is myself, and which means that the person who has the capacity to withdraw the meaning from the dream, to change the dream, is the self. And in that way, I rise in this truth. And because this truth is ever connected, ever one, we could call it love. And so in that way, I rise in love. You understand? There's a purity to that, perhaps even a lightness. Yeah, I feel like this, I feel like a lightness, like a clear bell. It's quiet, but I can hear it. And so, folks, what is your past without your proof across the board, from my experience to yours in the chat? It's looking like the answer is the truth. What is your past without your proof? It's just the truth of you. Or as we say in the Shihu language, the truth of the you that is we. The you that is all. Because only a limited past would make you think otherwise. Only that limited definition of self is the only barrier and obstacle to love, and the only barrier and obstacle to the truth. I appreciate you, twin. And so, folks, as we close out tonight, remember that the situation is always like I tell you, which is that when I say always like I tell you, I'm saying it's always like I say. And as I always say, if fear is our only enemy, then we bring heaven to earth when we transform our minds. I'm Dr. Shawn, and we were not sent to impress our people. We were sent to transform our people into a light for the world. For God's universe opens to all who believe in breakthrough.